Welcome to Into the Darkroom with hosts Baier
and Michaela Robertson.
This week we have PCAD alumni Pacifico Silano joining us in our studio today.
It's so exciting.
Pacifico makes work using reappropriated images from gay porn, and that talks about his gay identity, the gay community, and he also tries to make the conversation and open up awareness for HIV and AIDS victims.
His images really convey a very melancholic, almost sad feeling, but without getting depressing, I'd say. It's very almost yearning for this peaceful, fantasy-like sense of mind.
Pacifico's work will be in the PCAD main gallery until February 8th, and we are really excited to get this started.
And without further ado, here is our conversation with Pacifico Silano. Our questions range everywhere from, like, personal life, kind of, but also to, like, art, but also back and forth. We're not very professional.
I have a personal question I want to ask first. So, yesterday at the lunch, you said that you studied under Penelope Umbrico. I love her. Is she cool in real life?
She actually is. She's very methodical, very particular, and she's incredibly tough. When I first met her, I thought I was going to hate her. I thought she was going to hate me, and we kind of, like, got off on the wrong foot initially, and because I think I was not as open to the possibilities of, like, what a photograph could be.
Mm-hmm.
And she, makes a lot of appropriation work, and she has a very specific, like, her work looks very, very unique. Like, it has its own sort of look to it. But she really pushed my work, and I'm really grateful that I studied under her, because it really made me reconsider my relationship to photography. And so the answer, she does not disappoint. She's pretty cool.
Okay, awesome.
She's worth it.
She's worth it. So tough.
So how does it feel coming back as an alumni? Did you ever anticipate your success when you were here? Like, when you were here, did you ever imagine everything that you've experienced now?
I used to daydream and, like, fantasize. And, I definitely had, like, big dreams. And I used to sit on the stairs of the gallery in the main lobby, and there used to be a receptionist named Brenda here, and I would talk to Brenda Whitmer, and I would just be like, Brenda, I got to get to New York City. I got to make this. That's my dream. I got to get back to New York, where I'm from. I just need to make it happen. And I always wanted that. I mean, it was always my dream to move to New York and to become an artist and, like, really try and hit a stride. But it's been pretty incredible, and I don't always sort of... I don't know, I'm, like, kind of hard on myself. Like, I never think what I'm doing is, like, good enough or better. Like, I'm not, I always, like, I could do it better. So being back here has been, like, really special and really sweet. And you guys have been incredible. And everybody's so thoughtful and engaging. And so it's really, like, damn, I'm getting old. I'm going to be 33 next month. And, I don't know. It's just, I see the world in a different way than I did when I was a student here. So I'm weathered.
Gotcha.
All right. What was the program like when you were here, the photo program?
So it was incredibly intimate. It was very small. There was probably about 7 of us in our class. We had started out with probably 10, and it kind of got whittled down because the program was a little tough, I think, at that time. Chris Welch was the chair. She was, like, really rad, and I think she was able to sort of spot who was serious and who wasn't, and there was a lot of that. And we were really close. It was like a family. Like, everybody knew each other's family life and their interests, and like, we were very, very close. I would say it was a small program. It was in its second year, so it was sort of in its infancy. We were not the first cohort. There were people above us, and when they graduated, it was like we stepped into that role. And I don't know, I felt like, not to shade them or anything, but, like, they weren't maybe, like, the most warm people. I think they kind of had to, like, we're the first, like, out of our way kind of thing. Whereas, like, we were really excited, and we were very engaged with underclassmen, and we took that serious, and we had relationships with them, like where we would show work to one another, and it was really great. It was actually very special. And when I went to graduate school, it was a very different experience. It was more traditional art school setting. It was like, I had 20 classmates, as opposed to here, it's such a small class. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. You talking about your class back then reminds me so much of our class now.
Right now.
Even like with the upperclassmen that were before you, because they definitely didn't have as tight of a connection as we did, and we're a lot like family. We do everything together, and
Literally everything.
literally
We
everything.
sleep together.
Like Kay and Allie are roommates, and
I love that.
and we like lovingly named that room where we all hang out headquarters, and and we kind of, I don't want to say mentor, but we definitely like
Yeah, you do.
take care of like the kids under us.
Yeah.
And
I
So
think that's super important.
it almost felt like you were talking about us. Like,
Yeah.
what's
I
happening?
mean, we would always all go out to lunch together. We'd get in a car. We'd go to Olive Garden and go get that soup, salad, breadsticks, lunch, unlimited. That was our jam. So I just felt like it was a really special time in my life. And I look back on it and it was like, yeah, the school was different in many regards as far as like representation. Like I was the only out student in the program, and that was kind of alienating in some ways, but I also felt very loved and accepted by my classmates, and so it kind of balanced it out. And now it's just like you guys have like a gay straight alliance, like it's fantastic, and there's like so much diversity here. It just like really makes my heart sing. So
I'm not gonna lie, it's almost done a complete flip where if you are 100% just straight, it's very like, wow, really? Like it's almost a complete flip. And like we have a gender and sexuality class, and
I love that.
Like we all, I think now, at least I think it was the first time this year, but we start introductions at the beginning of the semester with your name, your major, and your pronoun.
Wow.
Which is so, like, even from when we started as freshmen, it's so different, but
that's
so
earth-shattering.
Cool. Yeah.
It's just, like, really fantastic. So, I mean, I love that.
What do you think your younger self would think of your work now?
You'd be like, that's not art. I just, like, had, like, in my mind what I thought was art, and I think that I was a little bit more closed off and not as open to the possibilities of what photography could be. So I think I definitely would have been like, well, this is weird. Like, how's he a photographer? I probably would have questioned that. And so a lot of the time I actually say lens-based artist because it's sort of, it kind of gives me some room to wiggle there. Like, I say if I'm a lens-based artist, it doesn't make people be like, well, where are your portraits? Like, where are your your landscape photos? It kind of gives me some wiggle room. But I don't know that young Pacifico would like new Pacifico's work.
Okay.
Have you ever, so you used to hate the appropriated imagery. Have you ever gotten any negative backlash from just using appropriated imagery?
Oh, of course. Yeah, there are definitely people like, did you take this picture? I'm like, nobody took the picture of the picture and I did this and that. They're like, oh, so you didn't take the picture. So that does happen, but it's also like, I don't care. I'm like, I'm not going to convince you. So if like you have a problem with appropriation art, there's no way that looking at my work is going to change your mind, and I'm totally okay with that, and I accept that. Like, I'm not, like, my work is not for everybody, and I think that we all have to kind of prep ourselves for that sort of rejection in life, that like not everybody's going to love everything we're doing, but there will be those people who do, and when you find those people, hold on to them, because those are your tribe. Those are the people who understand you, and that's sort of how I live my life.
Absolutely. Okay, so going off of that, a big conversation we have had over the past few years is the line between appropriation and plagiarism, and like taking somebody's work, but also is that technically their work anymore, as thin a line as even a screenshot?
Yeah.
How do you feel about how thin that line has gotten? And
well, I think that there are specific instances where that can become very obvious when there's plagiarism happening, or like when something is appropriated and when there's actually been a transformation. And that's how I always think about it, is like appropriation is when you actually have a transformation, like this, the thing that you originally had no longer resembles the meaning of its original intent. And if you can do that, then I think you've done something successfully. I know that there was a lot of drama with Richard Prince and Instagram screenshots printed on
That's exactly what I was
canvas.
thinking about.
And I'm actually friends with one of the artists who he appropriated, but he managed to like spin that out and make it work to his advantage. He had a show of the work of a printout of his screenshot of the canvas, and so it became this very meta thing. And he got like all of these like art blogs to write about it, and so he managed to find a way to capitalize on it. But, you know, I really love Richard Prince's Marlboro Men project. Like, I love those appropriations. I wish I thought of them. I think they're really smart and just, like, really great to look at. But I get it. I understand that. I don't think I would be as comfortable working with that kind of material, just because I think that line is so thin. And, you know, for me, I feel very much in my bones that what I'm doing is a transformation and is completely different from its original context. I know it to be true in my heart. So I think the big thing I sometimes get is like, oh, that's easy. What are you doing? But there actually is a lot of work that goes into it. There's, you know, like a lot of research, was a lot of time spent looking at material and sort of culling things and collecting, and then deciding what I'm going to do with the tear sheet. Like, I have advertisements and centerfolds and you know, filing cabinets that I like will hold on to for like years at a time, and then something will hit me and I'm like, I want to actually do something with that today, or I think I finally figured out the transformation of that piece, or how that piece is going to speak about this thing about loss or longing or melancholy.
All right. Taking a sexy turn.
Yes, I love that. I love a sexy turn.
When did you start reappropriating the pornographic imagery?
So I started to do that in my thesis year of graduate school with Sarah Charlesworth. So that had to be 2011. I went full throttle on that, so to speak, no pun intended. Probably the very beginning of 2012. So.
All right. Somebody not recently, this was like a year and a half ago, somebody was cleaning out their friend's basement, and they found like a strip of porn from like the 1970s, and they let me have it. And so like I use them all the time. I scan them, I clean them, like I make all process stuff with them.
Oh, amazing.
I really love I I don't know how to describe it, but like I really love stuff like that. I don't know. I find it so interesting.
Well, it's very fascinating, and it is just, you know, it has like this infinite life, because it's like from a total different time period. Like, you got to think of like the world and where it's at, and like where America was at while that film was, like, those films were made or those pictures were taken. And so the socio-political landscape is so different today. And so when you think about that and you like recontextualize it, it becomes something so fascinating and so different that it's new. And I think that's really what it's about.
I like that.
So a question I had, has anyone from the images ever reached out, like seen their face and were like, hey, that's me, and like reached out to you as an artist?
No, unfortunately not. And I think a sort of reality of a lot of the images that I'm working with is that a lot of the models may no longer be living just because of the HIV/AIDS epidemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I've never had that happen, but I would welcome that. That would be so fascinating and exciting, and really a plot twist.
Yeah, I know, because I know with other like things that have used appropriated imagery, that got bigger and more popular, people have like noticed themselves in it. So I was like, wow, wouldn't that be crazy if you were?
That would be so wild. Like,
somebody was like, that's my face.
Like the Blue Boy grid.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that could happen for a second, but you know, I think that piece has like had its life. It's traveled a bit, and now it's in a storage unit.
So you like to, continuously, I'd say not like rebrand, but rework your work and do different types of collaging and works. What
Yeah.
is the worst thing that you have ever made from experimenting?
I did some really, really bad mono printing. When I was doing my Lower East Side print shop residency, I was like tracing like printed images and painting them on, plates and putting them through the press. And it just like was not good, but I needed to do it. I needed to get it out of my system. Um, sometimes you gotta fail to know what you're good at. And I'm like, listen, girl, I'm not meant to be that kind of artist. Like, I'm not a painter. I could do some silk screening, and that gets me a little bit closer to painting, but I'm still not a painter. So
That's so relatable.
accepting that and just like knowing my limitations is really important. Like, stick with your strengths.
Oh, absolutely. I took a
Me, freshman year.
I took a sculpture class 2 years ago, and I really rocked it. So last year, I was like, I'm going to take a printing class, do monoprint and all this other stuff. And I was not good at it. And it was a long semester. It was last semester last year. But it's
it happens.
Because you hear printing as a photographer, and you're like, I can print things.
Yeah.
Like, that's totally different.
I can use an Epson laser printer.
It's not an Epson laser printer. It's so different. Kind of sticking on the path of frustration. Is there anything that you dislike or anything that frustrates you in the gallery process being an artist? Anything from that realm of like having your work shown and then moving it around? Anything that's like a big pet peeve that like sticks out in your mind?
Well, you know what a pet peeve is for me? It's actually in the promotion of a show. And it's when somebody somebody will crop my image. Because it's already cropped, and that's part of the appropriation. So then when you crop it, it's your like all of a sudden it's like it's not my work anymore, it's your work, because we're talking about appropriation. So if like you are like posting it online or something, and you've like cropped it into a shape it's not supposed to be, or you're cutting out like critical information from the photograph, I get a little bit of a diva. I'm just like, I don't, I'm like, that's not what this was meant to be. I was like, I love your appropriation. I love your piece, because it's not mine.
You rock that so well.
You can have that piece. Could you elaborate for a second? During the talk, you had brought up how the gaze is very important in your work, having that gaze through the image from the other half of the image, I guess I'll say. The person in the image to the viewer.
Yeah, like the mugshot ones? Are you more referring to that, or just...
Or any of them.
The gaze is in a lot of them.
Yeah, it's
I wrote that down. It was, yeah.
But, just elaborate a little bit more for us on like why that gaze is so important to you.
I think it's important because it sort of gives a sense of humanity to the models in the work. I think we sort of think of pornography and like the models in porn as sort of like unhuman. We think of them as objects. They become sex objects, right? They become these sort of things that we covet, and I think that's sort of the pitfall of working with pornography, is that the representations are very messy and problematic and can veer off in so many number of directions. So for me, it's really, really important that when I do have a face in the image, that their face is like met with your gaze, because it really kind of forces the viewer to kind of confront not just the person in the work, but also the people who consumed the image. It's the people who originally bought those magazines. It's the kind of person who like needed this sort of escape in this fantasy world because of the times they were living in. It was very different, like, post Stonewall riots leading up to the AIDS epidemic. So, those are things that are very sort of central to my work.
I have more of a personal question, just because this just blows my mind every time I hear it. Your parents owning the sex shop.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was it like to document it? And did you ever think it was weird, or did you think or were people like thinking, how long did they have the sex shop? Let's start with that.
They had about 6 years.
Okay, so it wasn't like you grew up with them and they okay.
But my father always had a connection to the porn toy industry, and so I like grew up and there'd be like boxes of like dildos and bull whips and crop whips like on the couch because he would play Santa and he would like give them out to the neighbors in the neighborhood. And like my friends' mom and dads would like get like free sex toys. So it was sort of unconventional in a way.
I love that.
But my mom opened it towards the end of high school, and all throughout college she had that business. And so when I would go home, I would, work the counter for my mom. She would be able to like, she's like, I gotta step out. Can you like run the register? And women are very comfortable around Jews, which she would tell me. I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm gay. I would do that, and it was just like a very unique situation. I was not ashamed. Well, yeah, I wasn't really ashamed. I kind of realized and recognized. I was like, well, this is like what makes us very unique, and most people were just always like floored by that. And so, I very recently looked back on my undergrad thesis work here because I knew I was coming here, and I just sort of like, this is your life. But also I was in the process of moving, so I was like looking at all these pictures I took. And I was like looking at pictures of the store and my mom at the store, my father at the store, and them interacting. And so it was just kind of like very fascinating to like look back at that and be like, oh my God, well, of course I make work with vintage gay pornography now. Like I have this whole connection to this, and I didn't even realize that it's like in my DNA basically. So the store was called Undercover Pleasures.
I love that so much.
And it was painted lavender because that's my mom's favorite color.
I love
So it was she always said it was very classy.
Yeah, that sounds classy.
And she would sell like stripper pumps and like lingerie. And then she had a curtained off area that was all like rabbits and all that stuff.
Sounds nicer than the den here in Lancaster.
Oh no, it was definitely nicer than the den.
Did the den exist when you were here?
Which street is the den on?
It's right on Prince. It's like literally a block away from the school.
Okay, no, that one might be new. So I remember the one that's behind the alleyway
over
here.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely nicer than that one. Because my friend and my classmate used to work there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, yeah.
I would love to be like, where do you work?
Did anything crazy ever happen while you were working the counter?
No. But it would just be like, I would have to upsell, you know what I mean? Like somebody would come in, like some truck driver came in and he bought like a vibrating egg or whatever, and I got him to like put like these rubber attachments. I was like, well, you need to buy these rubber attachments, and actually you need batteries, and I took like a sale and I like doubled it, so my mom was proud.
Do you ever miss documentary photography?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm a documentary photographer, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
maybe.
Well, I like looking at other people's documentary photography, but for me, I don't know. I think a lot about my sort of trajectory and the way my work is going, and it would kind of be crazy if I just stopped what I'm doing now and went back to that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how the work would look. And, it's not that I rule it out, but I feel like I'm in a rhythm right now, and I feel really good about the place I'm in creatively and excited. So that's good.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
As like an artist to have that
excitement?
that excitement and that good spell. You're like, ooh, we're gonna live in this while we can.
Yeah. Like that good creative juice.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, there are moments where I'm like deprived of it, or I'm just like, things are not going the way I want them to be going. And so just to be able to like feel like hopeful and excited about the future of my art making, that's like, it's good. So I'm trying to like hold on to that positive energy.
Oh, absolutely.
I have like one last question. How have you found regular?
Yeah,
Sorry.
It's okay.
Do I smell toast? I'm having a stroke. Have you finally found your stride with being able to make money with your art? I know you said that you are working full-time at SVA, so that pays your bills.
Well, yeah, I'm at FIT full-time now. I was at SVA
my
for
bad.
a while. That's okay. I find a way to make my work, and I find funding for my work, and that's through hard work, and recently I'm starting to sell more work, and that also goes back into the creation of new images and materials. So like I feel like, there's a balance, right? Like, I sold 3 pieces and I'm married, so I got to talk to my husband, like, all right, we can buy a new couch, but I also need the rest of this money so that I can like
make more work,
buy more vintage pornography, or buy get a printer or like get this or get that for the studio. So it's compromise. Married life is all compromise, so it's important. Because I want to look at that couch and be like, I got that couch because I sold that thing. So it's kind of like a trophy.
That's me with my couch. I got it at Goodwill for $12.
Yes.
I brag about it all the time.
Yes, I
a good
love that.
couch.
That's amazing. $12 couch. I need to
it's
move
the
back to
most
Pennsylvania.
it's the most comfortable couch ever.
I love that.
I love it.
Please keep this in this podcast.
Oh, we will.
Good.
Me bragging about my $13 couch.
We rarely edit things out.
Oh, good.
Is there like a point in your career that you were like, wow, I have made it, or like that you were like starstruck of like, I can't believe this is happening?
It was probably like 3 months ago, or however long ago November was. I don't even know what month we're in right now. We're in February? Okay.
Yes.
So back in November.
It was like, we're in March.
Back in November, I was invited to donate a piece to the Andy Warhol Museum benefit auction, and museums in Pittsburgh. PA Pride.
Ooh,
but
Pittsburgh.
But they came down to New York City to have their annual gala and benefit, and I was there. I went to their cocktail party, which was like fun. I was like, I don't know, do I belong here? And then the next night I went to the dinner gala where they auctioned off my work in front of a room of like people like with a Sotheby's guy, and it was so cool and it was so crazy, and the work sold for like more money than I've ever sold something for. And of course I didn't get a dime.
So it was
of it.
charity.
But I was just like, that was so cool. And it was Ellsworth Kelly's like husband, the painter, like his husband. He runs the Ellsworth Kelly Foundation. He's the person who bought it, and I know that's tacky to say, but it was just so cool. It was like so crazy. It was just such a highlight for me, because all of a sudden like I was in a room and like Sandra Bernhard was in that room. I'm like, it was like Todd Haynes, the director, was hosting the night. It was just very cool. I mean, I never think of myself as like a success. But that was a night where I was like, that's cool. Like, oh man, pinch me.
It's so funny that like you say like I don't see myself as a success, because like I know like when we all kind of talk, we're starting to get that question of what do you want to do after college, or like what do you hope for after college? I'm like, that I want to be like Andy Warhol Museum, or just like galleries and like residencies and stuff like that. Like that is the dream.
I want a bridge named after me, Dan.
At this point in our career, it's like someone just take us seriously and like put us in a gallery.
Well, I always think that that's like the struggle for like young artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're asserting yourself in this like power structure, this hierarchy of like the art world and gatekeepers, and it can be really discouraging. But I also feel like because you guys are young, you have like this energy on your side and this resiliency.
You would think that we have energy, but I have the soul of a 95-year-old woman.
Yes, I love that. But you really, like you make your space and you find your way. And I will say, the older we get, the easier it gets. It seems.
Oh well, that's good.
I will say that it seems like more opportunities open up, like the longer you're in the game. So like have faith.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm trying. Are there any artists that you are really into right now? Any artists that absolutely inspire you? It's
like,
right now?
yeah, Baier, Michaela, Robertson. They're the best.
Like
I love them.
Right here.
I can't wait to see your work. I'm so excited.
Us too.
I really am looking at painters right now. I've become very good friends with the painter Devin Shimamaya. He has a solo show in Pittsburgh right now at the Andy Warhol Museum. And
I was going to go there for break, and I totally did, and I should have.
The show is called Crybaby. And he's a queer Black painter who makes work around issues of identity, and I think it's just like a phenomenal show. I just loved it. And coincidentally, his partner, Danny J. Farrell, is also an amazing painter. He does these like incredible paintings of queer people with queer men with their dogs. So he painted me,
cute.
and I'm just like, this is so cool. And my dog, but it's just like the sweetest, optimistic. It's just
very
nice, wholesome, optimistic work where you're just like, oh, not everything is complete, gloom and doom. I think that's really important. As far as photographers, I look at everybody. It's like I don't discriminate. I want to see what everybody's working on. I think Elliot Jerome Brown Jr. is making some really fantastic work. I love this work of the artist Rez. They have like an entire project about the Pulse massacre. So there's all these makeshift Pulse memorials, and I am just in awe of them. I just think they're so gorgeous and heartbreaking, and I really, really, really love them. So, yeah.
One last question, or unless you have one.
I have one that's not like a real art question. So
do yours and I'll do
okay.
mine.
So what's your dog's name and what kind of dog is it?
Okay, so I have two. Okay, I have Iggy Smalls. He is 9 years old, Boston Terrier. He's tattooed on my hand.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
The only good thing that came from my last relationship. And my husband and I, we just got a puppy, and her name is Remy, and she's also a Boston Terrier. So we've become the gays who have the same designer-looking dogs. Like, I'm like,
nice.
But I'm like, are Boston Terriers designer dogs? I don't know. I can't tell. They've been around forever.
You're like Boston Terrier,
They're very,
but make it fashion.
I
Yes.
don't want to say a crisp-looking dog, but they are very
Yeah.
clean cut. They're like the tuxedo of dogs.
Yeah, they always call him like the perfect gentleman or gentlewoman, we should say.
Yeah.
Remy is like, she's just crazy. I swear to God, getting a puppy was nuts. I knew it would be nuts, and it was just like money trap, and she is so dramatic. And her eyeballs started bleeding out of nowhere last Sunday. So I'm like, all right, call up the vet. They know us on a first name basis now. So
that's the epitome of dramatic, is when your eyes start bleeding.
yeah, she's like a stunt queen. I'm like, do you have Ebola? Like, what's going on? She was totally fine. She's just a drama queen.
She made her eyes bleed.
She was a $230 drama queen.
That's like she's having a moment.
Yeah, they're like, well, it looks like she got something in there, but it looks like it's fine. Just take some antibiotics just in case. I'm like, great, I got to put eye drops in this little demon's eyes. But they keep me young. They keep me happy. They keep me grounded in New York City. And when things aren't going well, I'm just like, oh, I got puppies. I got dogs. I'm like, these things will love me no matter what.
As a closing question, and just kind of wrap up, if you had anything, like any kind of advice to yourself as a student here, about to graduate, what would you tell yourself?
Please tell us.
I would say, don't be afraid of failure. Keep at it. Whatever you do, don't give up. And try not to focus on what other people have. Try to focus on yourself. And know that it's going to work out.
Awesome.
Thanks for stopping back in and talking with us, Pacifico. It was really an honor to meet you and get to learn more about your work and get more in depth.
I definitely am very excited for life after college now, and you have honestly made me feel so much more optimistic about what can happen being an artist out in the real world. So thank you for that very eye-opening conversation.
Hell yeah. Next time, bring your dogs. And this is Kay and Michaela signing off. We'll see you soon.
Bye, y'all.
Peace out.